Welcome to Power Up Recovery with Nutrition. It is time to make nutrition part of the conversation. I'm your host, Christina Veselak, and I'm so glad you're here. Did you know that it's our brain's job to allow us to cope with stress gracefully? But to do that, it needs to be fed optimally. Have you ever wondered why so many committed people relapse or maybe even die? Why so many people on psychotropic medication still feel lousy and still have cravings? What if the missing piece is food, the right food? What if the right nutrients like amino acids or even eating protein every 4 hours could actually balance your brain chemistry and your mood without medication and support lasting recovery? In this podcast, we explore the powerful connection between feeding your brain well, mental health, relapse, and recovery from addiction. We will share insights from experts, inspiring recovery stories, and practical strategies you can use today. Whether you're in recovery, a healthcare professional, or someone passionate about emotional well being, this show is for you. Let's dive in and discover how fueling your body and brain with the right food, the right amino acids, and other key nutrients can fuel your transformation today. Welcome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Power Up Recovery with Nutrition. Here you find wonderful success stories, science, and stories from practitioners working in the field, as well as people who've experienced the power of amino acid and nutrient therapy in their own struggle against mental health and addictive disorders. Today, I am delighted to have a conversation with Dr. Salvatore Di Liello, who is a classical homeopath and naturopath, among other things. He is on the board of the Alliance for Addiction Solutions and a dear friend. Welcome, Salvatore.
Thank you, Christina. First of all, it's a privilege and an honor for me to be here. I've known you for so many years, and I often wonder if it wasn't for your work that you do and the class that I've taken with you, the level 1, the level 2, started in Salt Lake City many years ago, and then continue the second certifications, and then just more recently with your wonderful conference in Columbus. I often wonder what we'll be doing. What would I be doing? Because a lot that I'm doing today with my addiction group is really thanks to you, your academy, Julia Ross with the amino acids. So I'm really thankful that you're doing what you're doing. I appreciate you, appreciate your work. And like I say, it's a privilege for me to be here today and get to share my story here.
Thank you so much. Well, I think it's a privilege too, because I put this information out into the world and I don't always know where it lands and what people do with it. And so it's always so encouraging when I get stories like yours, where you took the information and you ran with it and you made it your own. And we have this amazing ripple effect out into the broader community.
That's true, and that's one of the goal actually is to keep this ripple effect in a larger community because we know that this modality work. They have been working. I've seen it firsthand. Good reports with some of the clients that I work with in a nonprofit organization by the name of Flying High in Youngstown, about 20 minutes from my main office here. So we know this works, and we wanted just to make sure that other people are going to be aware of it. And let me just start by quickly introducing myself. You already mentioned my introductions and my bio. So I'm a naturopathic doctor. I did my concentration in homeopathic medicine. I also do monthly actually semi-monthly meditations group. I'm also a Reiki teacher master, so I get to incorporate really some of these other modalities in my practice. And you have always mentioned the three-legged stool analogy, and I couldn't agree with it more. I mean, the way I look at and the way I came into this, I was a naturopath. Of course, the pillar of naturopathic medicine is nutrition, along with sleep and exercise, because those are the three-legged stool for our health from a naturopathic point of view. But also, what really got me more interested was after I attended your first course in Utah, and how effective nutrition and feeding the brain, those any amino acids, how effective they can be. There was an eye opener. So just
Mhm.
being there the very first
Yeah,
day, and I think we did some trialing. I don't know
we did. We
we
did.
did, and I know being from Ohio, I had a 3 hours time change, so it was a little in a different time zone, but I think I did Tyrosine in the afternoon, and I'm
Uh-huh.
thinking, all right, this really works. I don't need my coffee now, so I'm good to go. Here we go.
Uh-huh.
and and then of course, also doing along with that, the like I say, the pillar of one of the pillar of naturopathic medicine is nutrition. So I started to incorporate the nutritions, the amino acids, the protein, the good fat. So those things that you've talked about it, you teach us, and you are so kindly mentioning to everybody else. And I go back home thinking, gosh, this was common sense. This was something that works. We should be doing it. Everybody should be doing it. Why are we not doing it?
Right. It really is common sense, isn't it, Salvatore?
It is. It really is, because when you look at it, we have to approach the addictions from a different point of view, and it is really a what I will say more of a social cycle, spiritual imbalance. Okay,
Hmm.
going back to the tripod analogy. So often we are looking at just one part of it, and we try to correct the addictions by detoxing, and maybe putting our clients on prescription drugs
Right.
such as Vivitrol, Suboxones, all those other things that we all familiar of it, and that's great. That's good for short term, but I always ask clients: "Is okay, that's great, but what is your next step? Are you going to be doing
Yeah,
this for the rest of your life?
that's right.
And
That's right.
how much have you depleted your body during the time that you were using? That right now you are really in a biochemical deficiency. You lack in
Exactly.
proteins. Yeah, you lack in
And
minerals.
and of course, medication doesn't feed the brain, it doesn't repair the brain. It just moves things around the brain, and that can be temporarily useful, but it's not getting down to the root cause of anything. And food, nutrients that help the brain function do its best, right? It requires nutrients to do that. Food actually does get down to the root cause.
Exactly. And that's why I call it common sense approach, because we all have to eat. So it's not like you're doing something, oh, climbing Mount Everest or something. You got to put
Uh-huh.
fuel in your body anyway. Why not choose the right food? Why not
That's
choose the
right.
fuel that it's really going to feed, and it's going to give you a more optimal state of health, instead of choosing junk food or ultra processed food.
Right, right. Especially with all the recent research coming out over the last several years, correlating ultra processed foods with mood and behavior problems in children, teenagers, and adults.
Exactly. In fact, in one of my other practice that I go to, uh, We do a lot with the special children with ADHD, autistic children, and you can actually see the effect of food. You can see the effect of the ultra processed food. You can see the effect of food coloring to sugar, how their behavior change, how their level of anxiety. So again, it's not something mysterious. It's something common sense that I wish more and more people will get the knowledge and implement it.
Well, that's right. And especially given the research, that goes back, what is it, to the 1920s,
Right,
about what deficiency in some of the B vitamins do to our brain and behavior and mood.
right,
And then more recent research about what deficiencies in the neurotransmitters, how that impacts our mood and behavior. The research is in.
right.
It's just not always being applied where it needs to be applied, and nobody knows about it.
Right. And it's one of those things that, and I think, you really started this crusade many years ago. And again, shout out to you for making people aware, including some of the practitioners,
Yeah.
myself, because yes, we know about nutrition, but we don't know about all these other
Yeah.
tidbits.
Yeah. You kind of knew it, but you didn't really know it.
No, yes, not to that extent, not to that degree.
Yeah.
So, yes. And again, it's one of those things that when you start implementing, when you start seeing it, and I have stories where I usually there at the center first thing in the morning. Most of my client, of course, after they go through a detox, insomnia is a big thing, anxiety is a big
So,
thing.
excuse me for a moment, Salvatore. What
Sure.
center, what program do you work with, and what is your role in it?
Okay, great. Thank you for reminding me because I meant to give a shout out to Jeff Magada, the CEO of Flying High Incorporated. It's a nonprofit organization in Youngstown, Ohio. We do IOP, peer-to-peer support. They also do professional career development. So basically, we want to get our clients out of the detox, back into the community, give them a job, get them stable, having a good, stable mind, body, and spirit, and get them out
Hmm.
there and give them a second chance. So, and my role is I'm the, uh, the the director of the NAT, the nutritional assisted treatment that we call it, to treat with nutrition instead of
Hmm.
medications. And been there for over dozens of years now, and we've had hundreds and hundreds of clients coming in, and I will tell you with the statistic that we've also heard from other of your podcasts and other great speakers that you have had on it. The results are amazing. 87 to 93% uh, positive results rate once they stick with the program and they do what they need to do, which is not brain surgery, like we're saying.
No, no, no. And of course, it's so much easier for people to stick with the program when they're getting their brains fed from the beginning.
Exactly, exactly. And I always tell everybody, I don't think anybody gets up in the morning and wants to feel bad. We all want to do good. We all want to show up and do our best. So sometimes it's the lack of knowledge, the push that they need, the
That's right.
initiative that they can get from a practitioner to say, hey, there are these tools available. You can have a couple eggs, hard-boiled eggs in the morning and see how you feel instead of having Pop Tarts and a glass of orange juice.
Right.
In fact, one of the tools that I often ask them to do is I tell them, don't take my word for it. Just start writing a
Exactly.
mood food journal. You know, just eat, see how you feel 20, 30 minutes after you eat what you ate. And then let me know. And then you'll see yourself this correlation of how the food is really agreeing with you or disagreeing with you. If you're eating something and you have brain fog, you've fallen asleep, it's bothering your GI. Well,
Mhm.
common sense tells me that this is probably not the best thing for you. Maybe we should look at
Right.
something else.
Yeah, exactly. So do you have any stories that stand out for you?
Oh gosh, I have several stories, but one of them that it really stands out was from a gentleman that came in and he had just got out of the jail, been in detox, then been in jail, got back on the street, and then was at one of the mission, staying there because often, after go through a routine of this kind of experience, they have to start at the bottom. So they have often lost jobs, lost their family, lost their homes. So they're they're literally in a lot of cases coming under a bridge, So and he was trying to get whatever food he could get at some of the free uh, places like the missions or some of the churches, which it's still better than starving, but as we know, it's not a protein based food where you can actually feed your brain. So we start doing things like I start bringing some of the eggs and some of even my homemade peanut butter. Say, well, let's start with some of these things and let's start drinking more water. Now let's get rid of these energy drinks that are costing you money, which you could put towards something healthier and put towards some of the amino acids. When a daily dose of amino acid and a good source of chicken or a piece of salmon will cost you way less in a day that your drive through at one of the fast food and two of those Red Bulls drinks.
Salvatore, I point out to people that a bag of potato chips costs exactly the same as a bag of organic apples.
True. Yeah.
Yeah,
And yet they'll choose the potato chips at first. So, but
it
once
will, because nobody's taught them to connect the dots.
exactly,
Nobody's taught them that what and when they eat actually matters to their mood, to their behavior, to their cravings, and therefore to their recovery.
exactly. So once we start doing this, and on this one particular case, I asked him to do the amino acid therapy charts from Julia Ross, and
Mhm.
it was basically 9 and 10 in every single
Across the
column
board.
across the board. So we started doing things with beside the food that I was mentioning, breakfast and lunch. We started doing things like the glutamate. When he starts getting some of the craving for sugar, I said, well, just have you tried L-glutamine? He had no idea what it was, of course. So I opened up some of those capsules. I said, well, when you get this really big craving and you gotta have your candy bar right now, or you gotta have your pop right now, let's do this and see what happens. Then wait 5 minutes, maybe walk around, the room over here, and then let me see what your craving is like.
Uh-huh.
So we did that. And I said, well, do you still need that Pop Tarts right now? Or maybe we can go on with our consultation for a few more minutes with our sessions. He goes, no, I think I might be okay. So, so there was one of the cases, and there are so many other, a gentleman that came in and he could hardly keep his eyes open. I mean, the whole morning, I'm trying to interact with him. The counselor is over there too, the case manager, and he
Mhm.
hadn't slept well. Like we talked about, insomnia is a big thing. And also later on, I like to point out some of the tools that I use from homeopathy, as well as some of the amino
Mm.
acids to support cases of insomnia and anxiety. And so I said, well, let's try, because again, on the scale there on the board for the amino acid chart, it looked like the tyrosine was really a requirement. So I said, well,
Mhm.
let's try this and see how you feel. And within 5 minutes, the case manager still talks about it today, because within 5 minutes you can see him perking up and being more active. So it's like, okay, see, it works. So
Yes.
let's do this.
Yeah. That reminds me of a story. I visited Bridging the Gaps in Winchester, Virginia, last year, I guess, in October. And they are a nutritionally oriented treatment program. And I was asked to run the nutrition group. So I did, and it was fun. But there was this one young guy was just falling asleep. He was just nodding off. And so I asked him, have you had any extra tyrosine today? And he said that he was prescribed it. It was part of his protocol, but that he had forgotten to go down and get it mid morning. So I asked him to go down and get it. And he came back and sat down, and within 5 minutes, he was perking up and he was sitting up and his eyes were opening and he was engaging and he looked perfectly awake. And so I asked him how he was feeling, and he said, "Yeah, I feel great. I'm awake. And I pointed this out to the rest of the group. I said, I want you guys to see this, right? Joey here was falling asleep, right? Because he is recovering from stimulant addiction. I think it was meth. And his catecholamines, his dopamine's really depleted. His norepinephrine is really depleted. So of course he's falling asleep. But look what happened 10 minutes after we gave him a dopamine and norepinephrine precursor. He's awake and functioning and alive. Did you like
Yes.
being alive? Yeah, he liked being alive.
And that's just that. Like I said, nobody wants to feel bad. Nobody wants no
Mhm.
being alive. They all want
No.
to show up and do their best, but we just need to give them the tools and need to educate them. And the great thing is when we do this in a group is seeing is believing. Like you're saying, the rest of the group gets to see joy coming alive. It's almost like those plants that haven't had water for a couple days, and
Yeah,
then
exactly.
you give them some plant, you give them some water, and they perk up within a couple hours. It's
Yeah.
yeah,
It's exactly the same thing. Once you give the brain or the organism what it needs to thrive, it starts thriving.
exactly, exactly. And that's really the approach that I use in the center and in my practice. It's like, we need to look at all the tripod. We need to look at, because we are complex as human being, we more than just bones and muscles. There's a lot of things going on, but until we fix the brain and start going into the right directions, we can't really get to the bottom of it and look at the emotion, the spirit, which all come together. And that's the other reason why I really like homeopathy, because as you know, homeopathic medicine address all the three plans of mind,
It
body, emotion.
does.
Yeah,
It does, kind of from a foundational level.
exactly, exactly. And
So, can you explain a little bit about what homeopathy is? I think a lot of listeners have probably never heard of it or think that they confuse homeopathy with naturopathy and they think it's the same thing, right? Which, of course, it isn't.
it
So, can you
isn't.
explain, where it came from, a little bit about what it is, and then how some specific remedies work for different things?
Sure, I would love to. And fortunately or unfortunately, because I love homeopathy so much, we could probably spend 2 hours just talking on homeopathy. But I'm gonna not
We
bore
certainly could.
the we certainly could, but I'm gonna try not to bore our listeners and just give you the quick synopsis about homeopathy. So it is not the same as naturopathy. It is not the same as herbal medicine. It is another branch of holistic medicine, and it find its roots in Germany. The father of homeopathy, Samuel Hahnemann, was known to discover homeopathy, and the word itself, homeospathos, comes from a combination of two Greek words that mean similar pathos, so similar suffering, similar pathology. So in a
This was
sense,
the 1800s, wasn't it?
yes, yeah, you're right. It's in the
Yeah.
1800s, and it's something that has been used since then, and in Europe especially, which is where I I'm from in Italy, we use Europe, Italy, France, Germany, we use homeopathy a lot. You
Mhm.
go in any of the regular pharmacy, and they'll have the homeopathic kits or the homeopathic vials or the drops there
Mhm.
available. It is widely used, as I mentioned it. And funny enough, is one, and no funny, haha, but funny enough, it's one of the things that we go to as our main stream of curing or alleviating pains and curing some of the disease. And then, if things don't work, then we'll go and try to get the prescriptions. So over here,
Mhm.
we think of these as
That's true in
being
the
the
UK, or
alternative.
at least it used to
Yes,
be true in the UK as well.
yes. UK is
Yeah.
really big in homeopathy. In fact, there are stories that the Queen used to have
Yeah.
always a remedy, homeopathic remedy in her purse. And other stars, soccer stars and movie stars, John Lennon, some of the Beatles have always relied on homeopathy for decades.
Mhm.
Going back to what it is, how we make these homeopathic remedies. So it all starts with the mother tinctures, and it could be from mineral, it could be from herbs, it could be from animal, and then it gets highly diluted. And in fact, if you ever go and see some homeopathic remedies on the shelves, they'll have a number and then they'll have a letter. So you'll see something like 30C or 12X. So the number is how many times the dilution has taken place from the mother tinctures. And the letter, the X or C, is a Roman numeral that stands for decimal, the X, and the centesimal, the C. So it's a combination of 1 to 9 or 1 to 99 if it's a centesimal, which means what? Which means 1 part of the mother tinctures with 99 parts of your carrier, and then it gets triturated and diluted again. So if you have a number like 12, that process has taken place as 12 times, which
So it's
means that
really considered energy medicine, isn't it?
it is because
Yeah.
you got it. Because after so many times that we triturate something and dilute it, the actual mother tincture is not even there anymore, the substance. But what's there, it's the energy that gets carried and potentized anytime that you go on with this process,
That's right. That's
which
right.
makes it now safe, okay, because you are not getting, if we were to get a
Right. You can use it with any medication.
we can use it with any medication. You can use it
Yeah.
with adults. You can use it with children. You can use it with your pets. I've used it with the plants. I mean, you can use it with anything because it's energy, and we all know that energy is really what makes the world go around. We're really an energetic body within
Okay.
bones and
So,
muscles.
Salvatore, you just said something that I know this is completely off the topic of
That's
what we're
okay.
talking about, but I couldn't let it go past. Plants. How do you use homeopathy with plants?
So there is a good, there are several books, by the way, but there's a lot of research with agro-homeopathy. And depending, again, you look at the symptoms, you look at what the plant or the animal, the human is showing up. And,
Mhm.
and often with the plants, we use another sub branch of homeopathy that's called tissue salt or cell salts.
Mhm.
And those are the 12 biochemical salts that are found in every cell. So there is
Okay.
sodium, potassium, iron. So those things, in again in a diluted form, will feed. I've used it on my crabapple trees that was pretty much dead, and I had a guy tell me we needed to cut it down. So every night I'm making my dilutions and watering, and right now it has flowers, and I was glad to share those pictures with everybody because it's like, look, this is the tree that should come down couple of years ago in 80 days.
Uh-huh. Nice. Nice. What a wonderful little story. I love that.
Yes.
Okay, now let's get back to mental health and addiction.
Well, let's go back to mental health. Yes, because we don't want to stir off this. So, for example, when I look at homeopathy for, let's say, insomnia. Just we talked about insomnia. It's one of those big things that
Mhm.
often shows up in our clients. And yes, we can look at theanine, we can look at GABA, we can look at the amino acids, and on top of that, I go one step further, and I also look at how the client is showing up. So, is this an insomnia where the person is actually restless at night, is anxious, is full of fear, has some panicky attack anytime that it's got to go to bed. It has a fear that if he goes to sleep, he may not wake up in the morning. So that kind of insomnia, for example, the homeopathic remedy would be aconite or aconitum. So when you start seeing someone that has that insomnia that matches that pictures, and again, we're looking beyond the symptoms, the physiological symptoms of insomnia. We're also looking
Right.
at
You're looking at the bigger picture.
the bigger picture. We also look
Yeah.
at the client anxiety, restlessness, or for example, the kind of insomnia where a person cannot go to sleep because everything it's got to be ordered in his mind. That they always got to do everything until the last moment and trying to get everything done.
Mhm.
And they also tend to be, really chilly by nature, and they fell asleep, and then they'll struggle because about 1 o'clock in the morning they'll wake up and they're wide awake. They can't fall asleep anymore. So there's usually also a tendency to be thirsty for a regular sip of water. Well, this insomnia picture is the one of the arsenicum album, okay, which translating to white arsenic, which we know it's a poison, but because it's highly diluted and triturated and carry the energy, it will address those symptoms that I just mentioned. Uh, some of the other insomnia are the insomnia that we usually find from a caregiver. People that are deprived of sleep because they are too busy taking care of some person that is struggling with addictions. So these people are so exhausted and so weak that in the evening they have this mental foggy in their minds, and they really don't even feel refreshed in the morning. So this particular insomnia, we can look at calculus, which is another one of those great remedy for insomnia. So these are just some of the insomnia, and I'll give one more uh, uh, remedy here for the insomnia. The insomnia that we usually find after someone lose a loved one. They're still grieving the loss. They
Mhm.
feel isolated. They are crying themselves off to sleep sometimes. They're very, very sad. And, if someone tried to console them, instead of finding some benefits, it makes them feel worse. So we know people like that in this kind of insomnia, the Naturum muriaticum will be uh,
Ah,
the pictures that addresses the remedy that addresses this particular picture, this particular person. So those are just some of
that's
the.
beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, and it works so well that sometimes you think this is like miraculous.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And if you ever used homeopathy, you'll understand where I'm coming from.
Well, and I have tremendously and just love it very dearly, and have for decades.
Mhm.
One of the ones that I think many people have heard about, and I was one of my first introductions to homeopathic medicine, and I always keep a little vial around with me, is Arnica montana, right?
Yes. Yeah,
for
arnica.
physical and emotional trauma, but also for pain that comes after surgery, that comes after, having a brick fall on your toe,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because it's always in my gym bag. Anytime I
Mhm.
go work out, the 30C or 30X file of Arnica montana is always there with me. That's a great one for those, we call it the weekend warrior people,
Right.
especially now, with the summer outside, we go outside, we do landscaping work. We might work for 6, 7 hours and
You
then
can't move the next day.
exactly. The next day, you're in pain and you wonder what the heck just happened or what you just did to your body. And that's a great remedy for that. And interesting enough, you mentioned something, a very valid point about surgery. And there are some surgeons that have a protocol of pre and post op made up with arnica that the
Mhm.
patient can start taking it before the surgery, like 3 days before, and 3, 4 days after the surgery to reduce the pain, the swelling, the bruise. So it works.
But you see, I think this is so really important in the line of work we do because so many people end up, those who are vulnerable, genetically vulnerable, end up addicted to their post-surgical opioid,
Exactly. Exactly. And
even
we see a
after
lot.
oral surgery,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. People that
And
go
what's
and have a root canal or a tooth removed or something. Exactly. You're right. Yes.
Mhm. And so the use of arnica, which so quickly reduces pain and swelling after surgery, can actually, for some people, you don't need to use an opioid at all.
Right.
And that protects you from addiction.
Right.
It's really important for people who have been addicted to pain medication and now they're going in for some sort of surgery and they're frightened. The doctor's going to put me on an opioid because they don't have a lot of other options. What am I going to do? And we're going to say, well, we do have some options for you. We've got diphenylamine at very
Mhm.
high dose because, of course, it was developed to lower the amount of morphine needed post surgically.
Right.
We have
Right.
arnica. And what are some other homeopathic remedies for serious pain?
So for serious pain, especially if it's a nerve pain, you mentioned something about oral surgery. The one
Hypericum.
you got it. Took the words right out of my mouth. The pericum is a great for anything that deals with nerves, whether it's
Mhm.
oral surgery, back pain, sciatic, any of the nerve related pain. And you have, like you say, you have people that get pain meds, and especially if there have been issues, I've had issues with it. Why not start with something more natural? Why not start with the L-phenylalanine? Why not start with arnica, hypericum? Those are a great way of mediating the pain and controlling it, and making sure that you don't reach out in the cabinets and try to take your Percocet or Oxy or something.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Are there any others?
So some of the other ones, especially for alcoholism, one of the ones that I've seen really good results uh, is Nux vomica.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Nux vomica, it really helps with the compulsive inability to stop drinking. It also helps with the withdrawal symptoms that usually people go through, the DT. So the Nux vomica in a higher potency. So now we're looking not in the 30 or 200, we're looking something like a 1M potency.
Hmm.
Okay, or at least a 200 if they cannot find an homeopath who can give them a 1M potency. But those are great. Uh, that's another great alternative for alcoholism. And it's also, you don't even have to have,
I have a client who I just might refer to you.
okay,
Just
well,
occurred
thank
to
you.
me. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Yes, yeah. And that's also one of those things that we use even if you have had an evening where you went to a beautiful party and maybe you overdid it. Maybe you drank one, you were overserved, you know? Yeah. Uh, and you find at 2 o'clock in the morning where you are not feeling so great. Taking 3 pellets of the Nux vomica, even at 30 potency, will help settle things down.
That will probably not happen to me, but I will definitely bear that in mind.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those things that and it doesn't have to be alcohol. It can be food. I mean, it can be where you really overindulged into something too much.
Well, that's interesting because I am extremely sugar sensitive. And if I have any sort of sweet or dessert at bedtime or dinner time, I will wake up with a hangover.
Yes.
And so last night I had dinner late and I had two lovely, delicious grilled fresh figs.
Yum.
Okay.
That's my favorite food.
I love figs,
Yeah.
but figs are extremely high in sugar. And I woke up this morning tired, groggy, didn't want to get up, a little headachy. And I thought, what on earth did I have yesterday that I would wake up with a hangover? And it
Mhm.
was like, oh my goodness, I had two figs. I
Yeah.
had two figs.
Yeah.
So are you telling me that the Nux vomica might have helped me wake up a little faster?
I will tell you, definitely give it a try because you'll be amazed at some of the benefits. You would wake up, and even if you get up in the middle of the night and you start feeling the little bit of grogging coming on, you
Yeah.
know, take 2 of those pellets. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's
Then let me
that's a
know.
very useful suggestion.
Yeah.
And by the way, if there are any listeners out there who want to take Salvatore up on this and try it, and you have positive results, please contact us. Please put, notes out and let us know what happens. We'd love to hear your experiences.
Yes, absolutely. We love to hear your experience. We love to hear your story because, again, this is about enriching the community with all this education.
Mhm.
This does us no good if the only people that know it's the two of us, so 3 people. So we need to spread this around universally. That's my goal. I was just at an international conference 2 weeks ago in Rome, and I have the privilege to present and be a keynote speaker on alcohol and drugs and the holistic approach. So I was really honored to be able to do that
Aw,
and to spread that out outside of our community here. Yes.
that is very exciting.
Thank you. It's very exciting. And like I say, it was an honor for me to be able to do that.
What was the conference?
The conference is an international conference of traditional medicine.
Okay.
So we had practitioners from acupuncture, homeopathy, naturopathy, Ayurveda, massage therapy,
Mm.
uh, just about any of those other modality that we use in our holistic and alternative world. That were there. Yeah, they do this every year annually in different countries because again, it is an international. So we had people from Africa, Madagascar, Taiwan, all over the world attending the conference there.
That's really neat.
Yeah,
Well, good for you.
thank you, thank you.
So, anything else as we wind this down, and how can people get in touch with you?
So, couple other brief things because I want to talk quickly on a couple other remedies for anxiety if we have a
Mm,
few minutes, and then I'll give you the rest of the information. So, anxiety,
okay.
again, we have sometimes most of our clients will show up with anxiety, and if there is anxiety with a fear of death or anxiety where they're so anxious about dying or they have strong emotional about the future. Aconite. Again, the aconite
Mhm.
palum is great for that. Another one is the anxiety that we often see where people are in great despair, where they can't stay still in one place.
Mhm.
Arsenicum album is another one of those. So and the list goes on and on. Like I said, we could probably talk 2 hours just on these things, or anxiety of people showing up in public. They often now are trying to get their life together. They have a job interview. Again, the anxiety gets triggered again. They are they are not sure how they're going to appear. They want to do their best, but now the anxiety is taking over at their first job interview after starting all over. Gelsanium is a
Mhm.
great homeopathic remedy for that kind of
Well,
anxiety.
when is that again?
Gelsanium,
Oh, Josinium. Okay,
yes,
sure.
yeah. So those are few of the ones that are good tools to have in your toolbox. Because again, when we look at the approach, the holistic approach, we look at everything, the complexity of our humans being, mind, body, emotion, spirit.
Well, it's been delightful chatting with you and hearing about all the wonderful work you're doing.
Thank you, my pleasure, and thank you for having me here. It's been an honor. Thank you, and again,
So,
thank
how
you
can
for your
people
work.
reach you? Or if they want to send people to your clinic in Youngstown, how would they go about that?
So the best ways to get a hold of me, I am on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on the different social media, or I can. I think there is you can contact me through my website, www.naturale, as Naturale dash solutions.com. There is a pull down menu there how to contact me. That's probably the easiest way. And
Oh,
then if they need information about the center, it's called Flying High Inc. And it's on downtown Youngstown, Ohio. But if you cannot find that on social media, I'll be more than glad to give them the
right.
address and the phone number.
Salvatore, is that residential treatment program or outpatient or what is it?
So right now it's an outpatient. The goal
Okay.
is to make it into a residential. We have plans to expand it and getting a facility so we can start doing a residential. But right now it's only outpatient,
Okay.
offering IOP, like I say, peer-to-peer counseling, aftercare.
Nice. Good to know. I don't think we have you listed on the Academy's short list of recommended treatment programs. So we have to let's make sure that that's on it.
Great, thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And Salvatore's information will be in the show notes as well. So thank you for coming. And I hope
Thank
you
you.
all enjoyed this episode where we talked about homeopathy, where we talked about food and nutrients and all the wonderful things that Dr. Di Liello is up to.
Thank you, Christine. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to Power Up Recovery with Nutrition. I'm Christina Veselak, your host, and I hope today's episode has inspired and equipped you with new insights and tools to support your recovery journey or practice. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who could benefit from the knowledge shared here. Stay connected with us for more episodes filled with practical advice, expert wisdom, and inspiring recovery stories. Remember, nutrition is a powerful tool in mental health and relapse prevention. Power up your recovery today. I'm Christina Veselak, and I'll see you next time.